Howdy of you delicious people. I'm here today to review Titans Season 3, Episode 7 of Titans. I'm here doing this review. So this episode was this thing that I would dub a joke. We, of course, have a Frieza coming, but it's really just a clickbaiting thing to tie in a character that isn't actually there. Man, is that fan spam tastical. Just, they had to kind of clickbait you through a portion of this episode to keep you intrigued, because you're probably about 51% interested in this episode. Starfire is to have another side mission in this episode. Whoop-de-doo. Just for her to have more time with new character, because Superboy is dead. Best Boy. Oh, did I say a certain character's name incorrectly? Man, if there was only some incorrectness that was continued to happen with a certain character, maybe, I think his name may be Beast Boy, but I'm not sure at this point. I think he's Best Boy, because I think he's the best out of all the people in this cast, because they always get him extremely accurate all the time, right? With the exception of him just being Tony the Tiger 5% of the entire show. But he's great! Yes, he is. Anyways, so any other thing where Beast Boy doesn't actually change into an animal in an episode is the best boy of this show. So really, they kind of snuffed out Jason Todd in this show to really tell you who the real villain of this episode really is. Not snuffed out meaning they killed Jason Todd, because that would seem like a spoiler or me trying to clickbait people to be interested in the show. Jason is just to sit down and just watch as Scarecrow does things for an entire show. Exciting. Man, I can't wait for the action-packed moments where it's not left to Jason Todd. It's left to Scarecrow guards to just hold up the Titans in this episode. What an exciting just bit of stuff going on. Throwing down. All up in it. Yeah, for realsies. And so, yeah, like, we still get more Grayson and Barbara moments, which led us to something that was to seem interesting. And I was like, ooh, something new. And then all of a sudden they immediately snuff it out. I'm like, yeah, because of course you do. Of course you present something to be like, oh, here's what they could use finally. And then they kill it in the same episode. I'm like, wow. Classic Titans. Just go ahead and just ruin another thing that you could have just easily used and whatever. Anyways, so really what all happens is a lot of nothing in this episode. So they're just killing time to really just focus on the very last episode, or maybe if there's to be 2 other episodes to finish up this season. I don't remember if it's 8 or 10 now, or 9, or whichever how many number of episodes are left in this season. Because to me, like, this show, I didn't bother to go back and rewatch anything, because I just wanted to watch the new hotness of the Titans. And this new hotness has become really stale. Man, they're just killing it in 7 episodes, and I mean killing it. What was happened to Tim Drake from the last episode? Nothing. So are they leaving that to just kind of clickbait you into the very last episode where Tim Drake is going to come out of the shadows and he's like, I'm just going to be Robin now because F it. Like, I might as well be. Like, give me the freaking costume. I'll dust out and just be doing my Robin thing. Here is also the thing that is to bug me. So it seems like instead of really trying to find Crane, they had to find other people to help them get to where Crane is. Shouldn't they have been putting the pieces together by now where this guy is? Like, it hasn't been a number of episodes where they're just asking people, hey, where's this Crane guy? And eventually, once they do find seemingly where Crane is going to be, oh no, that just gets all just kerfuffled, right? That just all gets ruined in this episode. So let's get into it. Let's go into that double five time territory because it's about that customary time to go into spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time we can spoil this episode. So Jason Todd is to be a thing in the show in the very beginning of the episode because Jason Todd is to have gone on his crime spree. And so the very beginning of this episode, Jason Todd is to come back to Scarecrow and just be like, hey man, like, are you okay with me just jacking your stuff and then just like going and doing whatever I want? And Scarecrow is like, well, I'm not Batman, so meh, like, you do you, bro. Just go ahead and you do you. And so Jason Todd's like, well, great, because I'm going to go out and just inhale another freaking special ingredients so that way I can go on and just continue what I'm doing because evidently you're okay with it. Like, it's cool, right? So all of a sudden, Todd does a little inhaling to just do a little bit of a coughing and falling down and just, oh, I'm just going to take a little, just sit down for the rest of the episode, if that's okay with you, Scarecrow. And Scarecrow's like, yeah, just go ahead. I'll just keep you just off to the side here. I'm assuming that there might be some Joker juice maybe mixed into this formula that we might not be aware of, is what I'm naturally assuming. Maybe hence why Scarecrow is still leaning on Todd still, because maybe there is some concoction brewing within Jason that we are not aware of. I hope so. I would love me some like Joker toxin and everybody just straight up, everyone turns Joker. That'd be pretty sweet. That'd be a real cool way to get freaking out of this whole thing. To have like everyone just be Joker. It's one of those Arkham games all over again, where all of a sudden like Batman has like everybody locked up who's a Joker, and like do that whole scenario all over again. By the way, Batman is still off, just effing off. So basically, Batman has now turned to be the Batman from Batwoman. So man, we've had two shows now where Batman just F's off and leaves forever. And okay, I guess Batman is a lazy man, is Batman the laziest superhero that has ever been? Man, I hope frickin' Batman cells just tank frickin' after this show is to be like just heavily popular, to just see Batman has escaped twice now in Batman family-ish like shows to go off and just F off and just do whatever he's doing. Like, maybe he's having a mental retreat, or maybe he's going to astral project himself onto a better show or a better movie, we'd hope sometime in the future. But like, man, are these shows just putting Batman into just a bad light consistently. Any show that is to deal with the Batman family is making Batman look bad. It's true. But hey, so anyways, so Grayson and Barbara are going and desperately trying to want to find Crane. And Crane is to have to forcibly go and talk with these 5 big families of Gotham, the Mafia families, because it seems like because of what had happened last night with Jason, they want some assurances that things are going to go and run smoothly. So Crane, instead of Jason Todd, because Todd is just a guy just sitting off to the side, riding the bench for Crow, Scarecrow without mask on, mind you. So like we're not even actually getting at all ever a actual Scarecrow. We're just getting Crane. So man, is this character just have been exciting to present to us for him to just not be wearing a Scarecrow mask ever in our lives? Is he going to be wearing the Scarecrow mask in the finale? Because I think I saw somewhere where Scarecrow was actually to be wearing the Scarecrow mask. Was I wrong? Is there a photo somewhere out there of that existing, but it's not really true? Like, I don't know. So, Scarecrow is to go to these 5 families and to tell them, like, hey, I'm the real true boss here. I'm getting this done. But, like, Crane was to also get a bigger concoction of what he was feeding Todd out. So Crane is still happy as a bee that, like, what he was to eventually do was to work out. So Crane was to talk to these families and just say, hey, I'm the boss now. Like, I'm the villain of all this, and so you guys are going to listen to me and you're going to follow me wherever I go in this episode. You're also going to go. So while Crane is talking to these people, coincidentally at the same time, Grayson and Barbara are to sneak into Oracle, which within the same episode, briefly after they kill Oracle, and they turn it off. Because Barbara goes to Oracle to have them try to find the voice of Crane out in the ether of space. And they end up finding Crane's voice. And coincidentally, miraculously, at the same time that they find his voice, he is to mention some address that they are to go to. What great timing. And so Grayson is like, perfect! Wow! Man, did we get this at the perfect time to just know where Crane is going. Wow. To all of a sudden find out that really Crane had planned this, and really that Crane was to use Oracle against them, against Barbara and against Grayson, to have forcibly now Barbara having to shut down Oracle because Crane had told Todd that he was going to beat the Titans because of patience, because that's how he beat Batman. And Batman had desperately needed Oracle to beat Crane before, so now Crane is going to use the biggest help of Oracle against the Titans. And so Crane had said, I am not going to go up against the Titans. I'm going to let the Titans tear themselves apart. Where it's just like, okay, so he's taking the Baron Zemo defense of things. Like, he's taking the Captain America Civil War story, and he's doing that. Man, I can't wait till, like, the Riddler, or... Could we get some other Rogues Gallery Batman character that's bound to happen in season, what is it, 4? Yeah, 4? To eventually come in here and seem to be a real legitimate threat for the show? Could we get a Mr. Freeze, considering they they clickbaited us with using the words Victor Freeze for us to eventually go to this Victor Freeze's hideout, to eventually find there is no Mr. Freeze, Victor Freeze, Dr. Freeze, whoever the Freeze man is. If it's Arnold, a freeze is coming. No, it's not, because we're just in an environment where Mr. Freeze was. Or Mr. Fries? Otherwise, doesn't matter. So Starfire is going off and doing her own side mission-y thing, which is to lead her to a woman called Valaska, this mob boss, who is to say, well, Starfire and Darkstar, or Blackstar? One of those. Blackstar? Yeah, I think it's Blackstar. like, hey, girls, like, you know what? Like, I would love to just give you all the information about where Crane is heading. I'd love to give you all that, but I want something in exchange. I want you to go and fetch my son. Just go on, fetch him. Go and find him somehow, somewhere. So Starfire and her sister go off. Speaking of going off, like this season is gonna be done pretty soon. So names correct, like throw them out the window because at this point. So Starfire is to find this guy's person of which that they need to find. I don't remember. I don't know what his name is because it doesn't seem like they easily have that in IMDb, or I'm not going to look that hard to find his name. So they find this woman's son, and so this guy has to mention it's like, well, I want to be sure that I can be protected if I'm going to go there. Like, I want to be sure that I'm not going to die immediately once I get there, right? Starfire, like, you're going to have my safety at hand, I'm sure, right? So Starfire takes his boy and brings him home because supposedly Starfire is to convince this guy that's the safest place is with his mother instead of where he's at. Like, him just being at this job, there's no guarantee that he's going to be safe at this, like, welding place that he's welding things at. So the boy goes along with Starfire and makes his way home, and you're just expecting a just warm embrace. This just, like, hands wide out, Mother! I've missed you, Mother! Please let me just nestle in your love and just like have some smooches and like we can just remember all the times that we've ever had together. And all of a sudden, well, pow! Freaking shot in the head. So Velasca goes and kills her son and mentions that suppose he was working for the FBI, and so that this girl is to kill her own son, to have him coincidentally fall on this carpet and blood is coming out of the carpet. I'm like, oh, so like that's how she's gonna clean him up. But then all of a sudden, so Velasquez is to give Starfire what she wants. Like, here's this paper towel of thing for you. Go, here you go. And then so now Velasca is going to tell Starfire the information that she's so desperately needed from this woman. And so Starfire is like, well, I want to complete, I guess, every agreement with a handshake. And so Velasca is like, okay, like, sure, social distance, but hey, like, my hand's clean. Like, I farted on it, but nah, like, let's shake it out. So Starfire and Velasca are to shake it out, and there's a lot more shaking going on, let's just say, because Starfire uses her power to lava up this woman, and now she's a crispy critter, and she had fallen to the ground without giving any information out. Wow, that was smart. So Starfire and Blackstar go off to this side, and so Blackstar is now like, well, you know what I'm going to tell you now. I think you've killed the woman. So now I think you've earned me telling you why our parents had died before I had came here. And so it seems that when Starfire was to leave the planet to go off to fight Trigon, it seems that she was the planet's favorite, and everybody was in a hissy when Starfire wasn't on the planet. So I guess Black Star just decided, well, frickin', like, you know what? I'm sick of this. Like, frickin', like, it's not my fault that, like, Starfire was the chosen one. And so now I'm gonna frickin', I guess, just establish dominance, because everybody just went frickin' ape crap after Starfire left. So I'm just gonna have to just survive. I'm just gonna have to just nuke some folks, sadly enough, to frickin' be able to survive because frickin' people were just losing their minds, I guess, over the Starfire not being on their planet. Who cares? like, did we actually see the footage of any of this happening? No, they had to, like, tell us via reference that all this stuff was going down for realsies. I'm sorry, I can neither invest in Starfire or Black Star, but man, wasn't it sweet when Starfire gave Black Star her freaking gauntlets, though, and then she, like, switched into this gear, is like, dang, your bottom slamming, and, like, Superboy is like, that's hot, right? Paris Hilton style. Till eventually, he all of a sudden just has Black Star and Superboy who are just, like, looking themselves up and down, like, for the rest of this episode, and just like, like, you have heat vision and you are super strong. Whatever super abilities do you have, Superboy? But remember, he's technically also half human, so maybe there's not something all that quite super about him. You know what I mean? Oh, come on, he's way muscular, and I'm sure he has a big, huge muscle somewhere. Anyways, so pushing on. Like, we've seen him naked a bajillion times in the show, and obviously they didn't have to hugely censor anything in some parts of which that we've seen him. So, doesn't that kind of... Anyways, pushing on. Why did I stay to that for so long? I shouldn't have had to. Anyways, so I guess that's to be done with that moment. So we find Velasquez's dog walker is to coincidentally have this information to just kind of just stretch this episode. The dog walker coincidentally knows what's going on in Velasquez's freaking regime better than, I guess, Velasquez does. Is this show a joke? Is it like a dog walker knows just as much information? Whatever. So the dog walker is to talk to Starfire and Black Star to eventually call Grayson to let him know that supposedly this guy had overheard some things that Velasquez had said, where Crane is heading to a place where the magical word is to be free on. And so Grayson is to overhear this and like, Victor freeze, Freon, frozen stuff. So that must be where Crane is to be now. So all of a sudden we have Crane and Jason Todd, who's still sitting pretty because, like, that's all he can do in this episode. Just go ahead and just sit there. So the Titans are now to emerge at this Freon facility of which that Mr. Freeze had at some point. Man, it would have been cool to just had some kind of Mr. Freeze kind of gadgets or something here. Just like a Freeze gun, if not Freeze himself. Maybe like a frozen bride somewhere. Maybe some like trinkets from Mr. Freeze's journeys of being frozen. But to each their own, I guess. Maybe Mrs. Freeze is over at Arkham just kind of chilling it out while Victor is to try to, like, figure out, I need to figure out how to unfreeze her. I need to figure the formula. Anyways, pushing on. So, Titans are busting it out. And the best boy is to do this thing called change his hand into an animal. So, we didn't go full on lion, tiger, bear. It's so great that it's the best boy, just turning his hand into a animal, and we just see him fight people without any animal ability. He changes his hand to some animal that you could have seen in 5 seconds, and just like, what was that? Like, special effects that just cheap? Hey man, I could just special effect my hand right now to look like an animal. Like, it could go like this, and I could be the penguin. Wah, 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 wah. Like, I'm the penguin now, everybody. I'm the penguin. I'm the penguin, everybody. So even Crypto is doing a way better job of fighting people than Best Boy is, and Best Boy has to admit it in this episode that Crypto actually took down more guys than Best Boy did, or Best Buy, Best Boy whatever. I don't know. Still no Raven in this episode. Let's also count the non-appearances of Raven that were supposed to happen somewhere in this season, maybe season 4. Maybe we're gonna have Raven in her Metreon Zinthos power down time, or are they saving that for the last episode where we're just gonna get an episode of just mostly just Raven? Here's where she has been through this entire time. Or are they going to focus that on season 4, where you're going to have a whole entire, like, hey, here's where Raven has been this whole time. Or maybe you're not going to see her at all. Oh, God. So, the Titans are taking everything down. There's to be this weird fridge of a thing that is to be glowing that Starfire is to destroy, which I didn't even understand what that thing actually was. But glowing thing that was to be, I guess, making drugs, was it? Who knows? Anybody? Clues? That was to be Mr. Crane's drug device that was doing some cool, awesome things. Sure. All right. Thank you for telling me that, because I just didn't care. Because it blew up. We got to see it and then blew up. So the 4 or 5 families are all just running off after one of them is kind of finishing up his ice cream cone. So they're all skedaddling because they're like, hey, we're not going to be a part of this. Like, so both Crane and Todd are to skedaddle and to make it out of some ice cream truck to get the heck out of there. So all this episode was just a wash, just to really lead nowhere, to lead to the last episode, right? I'm assuming. We also had a moment where Todd was to immediately know that Grayson was to be here by the sounds of his batarangs or wingarangs, whatever they're called, the wing chucking things that Grayson is to have, the Nightwings, whatever they're to be called, they're his version of batarangs. We also had one moment where Crane was talking to Todd and was to mention that the reason why Todd struck out the way, or went out the way he did, to try to strike fear in the hearts of people, is because Todd is technically, even with drugs, still afraid of Grayson. Because, like, this just, like, is going to have to be the one thing, the one kryptonite of Todd is still, even with a unfearing agent, Todd still fears Grayson. Because Scarecrow needs something to just, like, go and just say, like, well, the real reason why Todd fails is because of Nightwing. Tune in next week for there to probably be another clickbaiting agent from some other Batman Rogues Gallery character for Scarecrow to probably hide in out of. Are they next going to go into the God, what was it from Birds of Prey? Is Scarecrow going to be hiding out in the booby trap from the Birds of Prey movie? Is Scarecrow going to be hiding out in what other hideout has there been? Is Scarecrow going to be in the Batcave while the Titans are out going and doing things? He's going to be like in the Batcave, just kind of like ha 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 ha. Like, here's the best way to try to like get these guys to not even know where I am because I'm in where they are. Is that what's going to happen? Considering Jason Todd knows how to get in the Batcave, shouldn't also Crane know how to get in the Batcave? Maybe that will happen for the last episode. I swear that's probably going to happen. If I'm wrong, then I'd be happy to be wrong, because this show probably has no like, if I'm correct, man, did this show have like no creativity whatsoever if I can guess what's going on in episodes. And I kind of feel like at some point that I had, because I immediately just said, like, in other episodes, I'm like, man, are they gonna just dust out every single rogues gallery of Batman and exhaust everything that they can possibly do? AKA Victor Freeze being name dropped into this episode. They're doing that. They're doing the Batman or Batwoman thing now, where we have to just drop. I'm waiting for Hush to come into this show. When are we gonna get Hush? Because Batwoman just killed that character, so like we have to redo that character in this show and make him a different Hush. Can we bring the Riddler in and have him be Hush? Or could we have like another certain character all of a sudden be Hush, and we realize that it's like Poison Ivy or some other interesting character that has never really been used all that well, but will be now because of this show, supposedly? Give me some of that sweet Hush. Give me some of that. Give me some of that character. But yeah, so I don't want to waste any more of your time. I'm gonna get the heck out of here. Like, really, the end of this episode is to just have everybody like bottles out and cheers because they think that they've really accomplished anything, which they haven't. And so Starfire is to bizarrely ask for, hey man, like, why didn't we get any ice cream? Like, man, I would love some Rocky Road right now. Is it insensitive to be asking for that? And so Superboy goes and door dashes his way to go and get ice cream and come back. I hope he stole the ice cream. I hope he stole it. So that way it could be like, hey, like, we gotta cuff Superboy because he stole some ice cream in the last episode. We can have some continuity between, like, give Superboy a mission to do and have him steal ice cream. Like, yeah, so he can be cuffed. And then so Superboy will actually have a story. Man, would that have been great. And so, but at the tail end of this, so finally Grayson and Barbara are finally to answer that whole tension thing that they've been having together. And so they immediately kiss it out. They immediately just, like, Barbara's like, well, I don't think that I want to be having you leave anytime soon. And Dick is like, well, like, I didn't think that I answered that part of the question of you wanting me to have me leave anytime soon either. So they kiss. Sparks are flying. We kind of naturally assumed that with how much time that they are spending together in said episode. Because both Grayson and Barbara are to go to this one facility to find a dead guy there, which is just to lead them to just like, well, I guess we should just go and find where Crane really is. Which is to have Starfire eventually tell them where to go next. So there's that. So with that said, I think I covered everything, but every once in a while, this show is funny. So let's go out of our way to say goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.